We've got our GS Construction Hockey Insider, Darren Dreger, about to join us. GS Construction looking for experienced pipe layers, operators, top men, superintendents. Visit gsconstruction.ca today. GS Construction, serving your community for over 50 years. Dregs joins us on our Firehouse hotline this morning. And I do believe that the Canadian Brewhouse is partners of the Ray and Dregs podcast as well, so we can fill Dregs in here. Dregs, so the Brewhouse today dropped off 9 hot dogs and 9 beers because they're doing this 9 dogs, 9 beers. Don't laugh at us, Dregs. Don't laugh at us. So we are, now there's 3 of us, so we each have to just take down 3 dogs and 3 beers during the show today. We have 3 hours to do it. Eric's got half a dog left. I've got about 3/4 of a dog left. Trev's got about a dog left. Beers are going down okay. But do you think if you sat down at a game, you could do 9 beers, 9 dogs, and 9 innings?
Yes.
Really? Wow. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I was too quick and too confident. The 9 dogs would push it to the limit. I feel like I'm maybe 5'6".
Yeah.
9 beers, no problem. In 9 innings? Come on.
Yeah, 9 beers, 9 innings.
The 9 beers.
It's just, the beers, I sort of just assume, I think I've probably had 9 beers at a baseball game anyway in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the dogs are really going to kill you.
Depending on the dog.
Yeah, this is a good-sized dog. They're not cheating with
not,
these hot dogs. Like they're...
Well, are we talking bottle beers? Because there's a difference. When you go to the ball game, you get those.
If you're just drinking a regular can,
we're doing bottles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. But I'm thinking, you go to a Major League Baseball park, normally you get those ginormous cans that cost you like $32, right?
Or a huge
9 of those
draft beer, like a big one. Like 9 drafts.
Yeah, that's no good.
I don't know about that. Man, you took back that yes right away, eh?
Only at the 9 dogs.
Yeah.
It's not that I have a problem, but literally I'm late to the party here, so I'm impressed with you two guys.
Don't be. we're pushing through this. I wouldn't be overly proud of us right now, but we're gonna get it done. All right, that was funny. Could you do it? Yes. 2 seconds later, no. I don't know if I could. All right, Drakes. So the Oilers, they're 500 right now, 442.
Great start.
That's better than previous starts. But I watched this team and I question: do they have the upside that the teams had the previous years? And I guess that is still to be determined, but they lose in Seattle. They drop one in overtime last night to Vancouver. And overall, that's not a good enough weekend.
No. I always slip to the side of the positive, and that's not necessarily with Edmonton. That's giving Vancouver, as an example, a little bit more credit. If you watch that game, which you guys did, that Canucks team facing adversity with Quinn Hughes, on the sidelines, they play hard. They play the right way. At least they are to this point of the regular season. Adam Foote appears to have found a way to get into the game of Elias Pettersson, and Elias Pettersson is arguably playing his best. And now you judge that and you go, okay, well, is that true? I mean, he's not collecting point after point. No, I'm saying his overall game is as good as we've seen it. So there is something to be said about that in terms of who you're playing. And it's common sense that any team the Oilers face is looking at playing Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, the Oilers en masse as a measurement type of game, right? I mean, this club has gone deep in back-to-back years. They're built to win, all of those things. But I also think that there's something that should be acknowledged in that how long the regular season is. Fans may not want to hear that, like it, and probably just push it away as an excuse. But if you're McDavid and company, of course, you're built to win. But you're looking at 82 games, and you're going, all right, like that's a marathon plus. When you've gone as deep as they have in the last few years. So I don't know. I know that sounds like not much because the fans pay what they pay to go to the games. Not much has changed in terms of the roster. Guys have come in, guys have gone out, but the roster itself hasn't really been adjusted. I don't know that you could build a sound case that this Oilers team is better than the one a year ago or the year before that. So I just think it's part of what a real long season is measured in. And the first 20 games for a lot of clubs can be a real challenge.
Coming off, that game Thursday against the Habs was electric. It was a throwback of sorts. I mean, it was wild. You get those two Canadian markets in the same building.
Yeah.
Things such as that. I know the officials kind of popped up in the conversation as well. But coming off that, there was a loose kind of quote by Chris Knobloch and about kind of, these are the lines we'll see, and we'll kind of stick with some sort of what we saw to finish that game. Are Oilers fans just going to have to get used to now the fact that Chris Knobloch just changes things up, and maybe that is the reality when it comes to this team? And kind of a one beat of this question, if you were to identify and describe to somebody new to hockey, what the Oilers' identity this season is, how would you go about defining that?
Well, I would probably define it the same as we have the last handful of years. And that's, all right, it's McDavid, it's Draisaitl. So it has to start, and often it ends with the highest level of skill. I do think that, the Oilers are in a large way missing the influence of Zach Hyman. And that's pretty obvious. But, not just based on what he contributes, but it's how he plays the game and the fact that he drags players into the fight. Now, I know that's cliche, but that's true when you think of the game that Hyman brings along. So I do think that when he's healthy in the near future and back into the mix, that there is going to be a change, maybe even a significant change. And look around the league, guys. Coaches are more and more now apt to not be patient. No. Get into their chemistry skills and let's just figure it out. I think the Maple Leafs and, Toronto, of course, loses Mitch Marner, who goes to the Vegas Golden Knights, and they've been auditioning that wing with Nyes and Matthews, and it doesn't work. Okay, well, let's try something completely different. At the end of the day, I think that's what coaching is all about. You can't wait 20 games, as we've established here. You've got to do what you can do to inject something in game. And the other issue, and I don't have the data in front of me, maybe the Oilers are a better second period team than I'm about to lump them in with. But I'm looking around and I'm seeing Winnipeg, I'm seeing Toronto, I'm seeing all of these really good teams struggle in that second period. They start the game on time, but then they almost take their foot off the pedal a little bit. And none of the coaches that I've talked to have a real good answer for why that is, other than you start the way you're supposed to start. You're like, okay, well, it's a long game, so let's just see how things go. You can't do that anymore, again, because of the parity. So to get back to your point, what do you do as a coaching staff? Well, when you're top end heavy like Edmonton is, and it's not going, you've got to try and throw something in the mix. With Toronto against Buffalo on Saturday, it was Nick Robertson, who comes out of the press box and onto the top line and finds a way to be a difference maker. It's just something different, and just a coaching staff that's just going, all right, well, let's see if this works, and if it does, then we'll go with that for half a period, and if it doesn't, we'll try something else.
It's funny with the whole let's see if this works thing, because I think most fans would probably agree with me in that Bouchard and Nurse probably were the farthest away from reaching expectations early in the season, considering you're paying them $20 million. Knobloch decided to put them together last night. That's kind of a sink or swim for both of you type of idea, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. But again, I wonder how those decisions are made. And I'm not questioning Chris Knobloch at all here. But, through the early goings of training camp, McDavid was flanked by young pieces until he wasn't. Well, how does that happen? Does the light just go off and Chris Knobloch goes, okay, well, that's not going to work. So I better put Leon and Connor together and let's just try the nuclear option and go with that. Well, probably there's a conversation with McDavid, right? And now you look at defense. And again, not questioning the staff, but we know the influence of Paul Coffey. And it's been largely a huge influence, positive influence. So collectively, how does the staff make a decision like that? Like who says, geez, I think, Darnell and Evan Bouchard are a pairing that is going to work for us. Somebody's got to say, let's try it and see how it goes. Maybe they find a way, even for a short window of time, to bring out the best in each other.
Dreger, the Oilers are back home to host the Utah Mammoth tomorrow, and much to the chagrin of hockey fans down in the desert.
The first place in the division, Utah Mammoth.
And it's not even. 3-2 against the Jets. I mean, they've beaten some, overtime against the Avs. Like they've had some good games. What can you tell us about a little scout on the Mammoth and what to expect from them heading into Tuesday?
Well, they play hard. There's no doubt about that. And they've got a real nice balance between, veteran leadership and young guys who are coming into their own. You probably saw the Dylan Gunther goal, right? And this kid can just flat out play. Their goaltending has been really, really solid. Defensively, they're strong. So maybe it's just a combination of things. A team that's kind of coming into their own. I can tell you going into the offseason, there was expectation of change. Change at just about every level. Is the general manager going to be back? What about the coach? Are they going to stick with this guy? Are they going to make a change there? What about the roster? All of those things. And, I would argue that Bill Armstrong has made some pretty significant changes to that team in the last 3 years, right? Well, last couple of years anyway. And we know that they've got full support from their ownership. So maybe it's just a simple case of pieces of that puzzle falling into place. But, again, watching a bit of that game and then reading the comments from Scott Arniel, the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, I think he was more frustrated with his own club than he was throwing flowers at Utah. But, they've won 7 straight games. That's no joke. I mean, when you look at the parities we've established around the NHL, you got to be prepared. The coaches are doing their job to prep you for whatever game it is. And beating the Winnipeg Jets in overtime, that's not an easy thing to do. So Edmonton had better be ready.
Dregs, as always, man, we appreciate the time. The next Ray and Dregs comes out when?
Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, we're on a bit of a rhythm roll here. Tuesday, Thursday. When Ray is traveling to the east, we get that thing put to rest pretty quickly. Yeah. Although Ryan Rashog of Reb Media, he sent a lob into the Ray and Dregs group chat. And I mean, it was a fair and just simple question. Tuesday, Thursday, good for you guys this week? And he just got a bullet from Ferraro, who was working the game last night and didn't want to be bothered. So
we went into that transit conversation with him on Wednesday, and he was very
defensive.
He was very defensive about it, man. Very defensive about it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there were 2 responses to his question. One was from Ray, basically saying, I'm working, you clown. And then, of course, I had to respond with a clown emoji. I mean, that's what we do. And then Ryan just fully turtled like one of his 6 games in the Western Hockey League back in the day with the Kamloops Blazers.
Good stuff, Dregs. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, guys. Thank you.
How about that?
Clip it.
6 games in the Western Hockey League.
Eases it in there, eh?
Oh, that is funny. That is funny.